Si Tahay, Eskawaran to all my Somali viewers. Hope you're all doing well. Today is Good Friday, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all, to all our viewers, a blessed Good Friday, to all of you who are celebrating this day. Welcome to the second part in our series, The Great Game in Somalia. In this series, we will be investigating, exploring, and elaborating on the importance and significance of Somalia to the entire world. We will be discussing the geostrategic importance of Somalia in the Horn of Africa, not only in terms of global commerce, because a majority of cargo ships and oil tankers pass through this region, from the Indian Ocean, through the Bab el-Mandab, to the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal, unto the Mediterranean Sea and beyond, and vice versa. But also the importance of Somalia in terms of the global war on terror, specifically with respect to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which in the recent years has made a resurgence in the region. Today we are once again joined by Ambassador Soumen Ray. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Ambassador Ray, for all of you who missed out on our last episode, Ambassador Ray served as part of the Indian Diplomatic Corps in Mogadishu from 1987 to 1990 and was witness to some very important events that took place at that time that have repercussions till today. Sir, in our previous episode you explained to us that all the countries surrounding Somalia in the Horn of Africa, with respect to Eritrea, Ethiopia and Djibouti, they all enjoy a certain amount of stability.
True.
But Somalia has been in a state of constant chaos and instability from the days of the outbreak of the civil war in 1991 till today.
True.
In spite of all the international support and intervention made in Somalia from countries like the United States and associations like the European Union and the African Union, specifically Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, who have sent troops to Somalia.
Rwanda, Burundi.
Right, Rwanda, Burundi also. In spite of all of this intervention, regional and international, why is Somalia still so unstable?
Well, this is a very complicated question, I would say, because the Somalis have got two main problems.
Right.
I would say three main problems. First is the conflict.
Right.
First is the conflict among the clans, conflict intra-clans, then there is no model political structure there,
Right.
in spite of the efforts by the EU, by the US, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, AU, IGAD, that is Intergovernmental Agency for Development. There is no model political structure there acceptable to all the different clans in Somalia who have already carved out their inhabited areas, the areas they inhabited since centuries. This is number one. Secondly, Somalia has got, rather this is third, I would say, because absence inter-clan conflicts, inter-clan and intra-clan conflicts,
Right.
absence of a model political structure, absence of democratic or political institutions, democracy will come later on, political institutions, absence of civil societies across the country. There are no civil societies, there are civil societies, very strong civil societies who are clan based. And you go to the Twitter pages or Instagram pages, you will see that they fight like anything
Yeah.
about their clan
Yeah.
identities. Then Somalia has got a misfortune of the negative effect of the climate change. It has got
Faced a major drought recently.
it has unfortunately Somalia faced the brunt of climate change. Okay. In 2010-11, there is a severe drought in Somalia.
Right.
More than 250,000 Somalis died, quarter of a million. Many of them fled to neighboring country, mainly Kenya. There is a separate, huge refugee camp for the Somalis. Then they were internally displaced, and once they are internally displaced, clan rivalry, people from one clan came and stayed in a different clan-owned areas. So inter-clan rivalry started again.
Right.
Very badly it started. Again from 2015 to 2020, the rain was not sufficient. Somalia has got two rain seasons. In both the rain seasons, rain was very, very insufficient. As a result of that, Somalia has got a population of around 20 million, but Somalia has got a camel population largest in the world. There is 42 million.
Right.
Many cattle, many camels died.
Right.
Okay, during the period 2015 to 2021. Then again, there was drought from 2022 to 2023, 2 years. More than 70,000 people died. Again, internally displaced. Okay.
Right.
Then they moved. Some of them who came back from Kenya, they again went back to Kenya. So there's a chaos.
Right.
There's a practically chaos. And taking this advantage of this inter-clan clashes, absence of political structure, accepted political structure, or I would say model political structure, the country became a failed state, almost a failed state,
Right.
isn't it?
Right.
So I would say these three factors are mainly responsible for the instability in Somalia.
Right.
Okay, European Union, US, and European countries, individual countries, donor countries, as well as European Union from its own kitty,
Right.
assisted Somali government, federal, to assisted Somalia or gave money to Somalia, billions of dollars they have given.
Right.
But whenever some sort of stabilization was taking shape,
Yeah.
either there is drought or there is conflicts. And in this vacuum, I have seen when I was in Uganda, Kampala, these clan peoples used to come, clan leaders used to come there, and for months together in Munio Resort, Commonwealth Resort, they would sit and talk, but failed to. President Museveni intervened from time to time.
You mean the clan leaders would come
Clan
to
leader used to come to Somalia, Kampala, but there is no accepted.
For our viewers, I would just like to say who do not know what Muniono is. Muniono is a resort in Kampala, or is a resort in Kampala which is usually host to very important international delegations and conferences.
International conferences.
So what Ambassador is referring to is that the leaders of the Somali clans would come to Munieno, to this resort, to try and iron out their differences, but would not be able to come up with a solution.
So this is the problem. That Somalia has got since 1999, There's the formula, clan-based formula. There's 4.5 formula. 4.5 formula is 4 major clans of Somalia will get equal share in the equal share in upper and lower houses of the parliament as well as in the council of ministers.
Right.
And 0.5 was reserved for the other minor clans. Okay. Now each clan has to select, not elect, select a leader. So there used to be fight to select who will be the leader, who will represent them. So these are the problems going on in
They
Somalia.
find it difficult to gain some sort of consensus.
Because that is the problem. Who will become the president? No, president.
Right.
Who will become the president? And how the presidential election will be conducted? Was it would it be based on universal suffrage? Everybody will vote, or the clan leaders will select from among themselves who has got the maximum followers? These are the complications. So unless the Somali, unless there is a stable government in the center, there is a federal
Right.
government
Yeah.
who takes care of the interest of the different clan-based regions, administrative units, they have got their different political compulsions, economic compulsions, complexities. So everything has to be taken into consideration before forming a central government.
At this juncture, sir, if we can compare with the other provinces, so Somaliland, as opposed to this, has done very well in the democratic process compared to
Yes.
this. And even
Yes.
Puntland has done quite well in terms of voting and the democratic process, but we'll come to this later. If I may ask you this question, you referred to the drought, the major drought that happened, and then the ongoing droughts. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was at this junction when Turkey intervened in Somalia?
No,
To help
Turkey,
with
yes. Turkey intervened in Somalia in 2011.
Right.
Okay.
Dude, that was when the drought here.
There is a drought here. As a
Humanitarian.
humanitarian and Qatar,
Right. So, sorry for interrupting you, but at this point I'd like to take the opportunity to ask you this question, that there are a lot of regional and international players who have intervened in Somalia, which we alluded to in the beginning of this episode. Could you could you explain to us the dynamics of this intervention? Who are the regional players and who are the international players in Somalia?
You see, international players first came the regional players. Uganda was the first country
Right.
to intervene, to bring some peace. But we should have referred that in this vacuum,
Right.
the terrorist group Al-Shabaab was born.
Right.
So from 2004-5, and in 2005 they set up this, in various regions, Islamic courts,
Right.
and there's an umbrella organization called Islamic Courts Union, ICU. They got hold of the federal government in Mogadishu, and sent this federal government ministers and everybody, including President, to Bosas, to a place which is around eluding my memory. It's
We'll come back to this.
outside Mogadishu,
Right.
outside the different
And
cities.
it was at this time when Ethiopian troops with support from US came
Yes,
and intervened and got ICU out of Mogadishu.
out of Mogadishu. But from those ICU,
Al-Shabaab transformed into Al-Shabaab.
and they created havoc
Yeah.
throughout the country.
Yeah.
Okay,
Throughout the region also.
throughout the region also.
Yeah.
So the international players, EU,
AU, US.
US, now their focus is two-pronged. A, to stabilize Somalia. B, to contain the terrorism. But the two things are contradictory. unless you finish terrorism or the terrorists, you cannot have a
Stable.
stable government.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot get it. Now coming back to your this question, what are the regional players? Uganda was the first country to come, even before UN took up the issue to stabilize Somalia. Ugandan Defense Force, the People's Defense Force, we have discussed this thing in
Yeah.
the earlier
UPDF.
episode, UPDF, they came. Now, mainly Turkey came from outside, okay. Qatar gave money. Turkey and Qatar was supporting the federal government of Somalia.
Right.
Okay. In the north, UAE interest was there for the Barbara port.
Right.
They invested a lot.
Present day Somaliland.
President of Somalia, that invested a lot. Okay. And there is another port called Bosaso, in the
Right.
Puntland.
Right.
So they also invested there. So
Right.
even okay. So this side, one side is Turkey. Turkey and UAE. Turkey and UAE has got main interest to get hold of the sea route, which you have referred to earlier.
Right. So Turkey in Somalia and UAE in Somaliland.
UAE in Somaliland to
Right.
start with.
Right. And in Somalia the ports are Mogadishu and Kismayo.
Ismail.
And in Somaliland there's Berbera port.
Right.
And in Puntland there is Bosaso.
So those two ports. So their aim, especially UAE,
Right.
Qatar, their aim is to secure their oil supplies,
Right.
secure the route.
Gulf countries.
Okay,
Right.
secure their route. Turkey has got another interest, that is to Turkey has set up a military base there,
Right.
military training center there.
Right. They've been training
Okay.
Somali troops.
Traditional issue,
Special
and they are also, Turkey's defense industry is very, very powerful
Right.
in dictating the foreign policy of the government.
Right.
Very developed defense industry. So they are trying to sell their arms and ammunition
Right.
to the African countries.
Right.
So Somalia is their best, Turkey's best.
Right.
So this is Turkey's main interest. Okay, and the Turkish drones supplied to the Ethiopians
Right.
to crush the Tigray rebellion has
Right.
proved very successful.
Recently, Turkey sent attack helicopters to Somalia also.
Yes. Turkey and UAE.
For its fight against Al Shabaab.
You see, Turkey, UAE, they are guaranteeing
Yeah.
the federal government of Somalia their sea coasts.
Right.
Okay, so this is their interest.
Right.
This is their interest. And in 2022 December, eastern part of Somaliland break off from, because there's a separate clan called Dulbahante. Dulbahante clan separated from the Isaks. So they formed a new administrative unit, Katumo,
Right.
SSC Katumo.
Right.
So when they got set up an independent administrative unit, Somaliland became weak,
Right.
and when Somaliland became weak, Ethiopia saw
An
an opportunity to come there. So along with UAE, now Ethiopia joined
Right.
the bandwagon.
Right.
Okay.
This caused a lot of rift between Somalia and Ethiopia as a result.
Yes. And Ethiopia said that we will recognize you
For the Berbera
for the Barbara port.
Right.
In fact, near Barbara port, not Barbara port, near Barbara port, they got a huge area as a landing site to develop a port.
Port.
But they had to because of Turkey's intervention, they have now said that okay, we will not recognize Somaliland, but however, you have to give me the facility to operate in the Gulf of Aden. Okay.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Right.
This is the agreement.
Right.
So This side is Ethiopia, which has got one interest.
Yeah.
UAE,
Landlocked, which is a landlocked country.
so it has got an interest to get a sea,
Seaboard.
access to the sea. Ethiopia has got interest. UAE has got interest. Here, Turkey has got interest.
Right.
Qatar has got interest.
Right.
And when Egypt, Ethiopia joined, the started supporting Somaliland. Ethiopia's enemy, Eritrea, they started supporting Somali government, federal government of Somalia.
Right.
Egypt also started supporting federal government of Somalia because Egypt has an axe to grind with Ethiopia
Right.
because of the grand,
the dam.
So it's a
Grand Ethiopian
Yeah.
dam, something.
so it's a conflict of interest. It's a rivalry
Right.
among the big powers and
Right.
regional powers.
Right. And also at the Berbera port, UAE is there and Ethiopia is there. Now with the new administration of Donald Trump is interested. Donald Trump's administration is interested in gaining space in Berbera and Bosaso, and so Somaliland, along with United Arab Emirates, Puntland is lobbying with the United States for recognition of Somaliland, right? And we've seen a lot of noise on social media, on Twitter, where it's been reported that Somalia has been lobbying with Donald Trump administration and also trying to give space in Somalia to Elon Musk to give him access for the Starlink, to lobby against the recognition of Somaliland. So it's a big mixture of
And in the midst of all, what happened? Al-Shabaab
right.
has gaining strength and strength and strength,
And inching
stronger and
towards
stronger and stronger, inching towards
Mogadishu.
Mogadishu. Recently, I think 2 days back,
Right.
they have captured a town near Mogadishu,
Right.
Okay.
Just north of
in
Mogadishu.
the north of Mogadishu.
On the east coast.
IS is also gaining strength. Puntland, in Puntland there are so many caves, it's a mountainous, hilly region, not mountain, hilly region.
Right.
In the caves, Abdul Qadir Munir, I think, that, I don't know,
Yeah.
they keep on changing their name.
Yeah.
Abdul Qadir Munir, that
He's
orange
apparently
beard,
now heading international ISIS.
ISIS
Right.
in Africa,
Right.
in Africa. And he is coordinating up.
No, he's part of Islamic State in Somali province. It's ISSP.
ISSP.
Right.
And Puntland has become the nerve center of international
Of ISIS.
ISS.
Right.
Okay, and they are conducting jihadi campaigns from Mozambique to Mali,
Right.
from DR Congo to Nigeria. It's all coordinated from. That is why
Which is why.
President Trump,
Right.
Trump's administration, the first attack
Right.
by Trump's administration's military,
2.0
Trump administration 2.0, was
in Puntland.
in Puntland,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Within weeks.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, I'm speculating, but perhaps this is also connected to developments in Syria, with the toppling of Assad and the somewhat unstable situation there, although the Al-Sharaz government is trying to gain some control, but there are reports everywhere. So perhaps, this new sort of, what shall I say, this new incarnation of Al-Shabaab, this new incarnation of ISIS being centered in Somalia area, in the Horn of Africa, and it being the sort of central node for coordination of finance and
Yes.
and whatnot for IS.
Yes.
Perhaps to prevent the resurgence of IS in Syria and the Levant region, Trump has taken preemptive steps to attack ISIS in Puntland area. And
That's
it's
true.
a speculation from my
That's
side.
true. That's true. I agree
But-
with your I agree with your analysis. Now is the question of Somaliland.
Right, right. So, exactly. So that's my second question to you, sir. That now Somaliland declared itself an independent country soon after the outbreak of civil war in Somalia in '91.
Yes.
Soon after, within a couple of years,
Yes.
it declared independence.
Yes.
Since then, Somaliland has enjoyed a certain level of flourishment in terms of economy and democracy,
Law and order.
law and order,
There are regular general elections at regular interval.
right. So, sir, my question is that regardless of all of these positive indications, no country has till date recognized Somaliland as a country, given it recognition. Why is that? And do you expect Somaliland to get recognition in this current scenario? And do you think if Somaliland were to get recognition, do you think it will succeed as a country?
Well, to answer your second part of the question, to whether it will succeed as a country or not, they have got the good ports. It has got good economic resources. So that's a speculative one. That would be a speculative one. But the most important question is your first part, I would say. Would it get international recognition? Now in Africa, Africa was colonized. It was partitioned by European colonial powers. Okay, that was in 1884
Right.
in Berlin conference. After the independence, when the colonial power left the countries, they have created artificial borders, and most of the artificial new countries, because of the artificial borders, the tribes or clans, same tribe lives in that country and this country also. When we are talking about Somalia, in northern Somalia, Somaliland, Ishaks are there. On the other side, there are Isha tribe.
Right.
Eritrea, the southern Eritrea is full of Somalis, and mainly of Dir clan. Okay, so African Union, or the Organization of African Unity, which was the mother body of which coordinated African liberation movement, freedom movement, they took a decision. It was later ratified by the EU that the boundaries as left by the colonial powers, will be respected.
Right.
Nobody will violate this thing. Now, if Somaliland gets independence, now the tribes in other parts of Africa who are divided or who wants to be separated from their country, like for example in Ethiopia, the Tigray, in 2022 or 23, I suppose,
Right.
there's a huge rebellion, isn't it?
They want independence.
They want independence. So Tigray will seek for independence. So if Somaliland, if you can, among the interested parties, regional powers, who support who are against, say, Ethiopia,
Yeah.
Eritrea will immediately give recognition to Tigray,
Tigray people. Yeah.
isn't it?
Right.
So this is not good for the continent.
Right.
Africa continent, there are very few places there are conflicts like this.
Right.
Africa is more stable.
Right.
Africa now is more stable. But if Somaliland gets independence,
Right. Then Puntland would want its own place.
Puntland will go to
Jubaland would want
Jubaland
its
will
own
go
independence.
to-
Right.
No, this is not only this country will be divided,
Right.
but the whole region, the whole continent,
Right.
there will be a problem. So I do not think that African countries will forget international countries. African countries themselves will not give. Do you remember in Kurdistan, northern Kurdistan of Iraq, okay, the autonomous region,
Right. Erbil being the capital.
Erbil being the capital, they had a referendum,
Right.
okay, and 98% people supported independence,
Right.
okay, but they are not recognized by any country.
Yeah.
What is the problem? Problem is that there are Kurdish in Syria, there are Kurdish in Turkey, there are Kurdish in Iran. They will also ask for independence.
Right.
So they'll be completely, it will open a Pandora's box.
Right.
Similar situation is in Africa, Somaliland.
Right.
So I do not think, to me, the best solution for this would be the international community has to do two things. A, whenever they say, because Somalia is a very unfortunate country that it is having, natural calamity of droughts, one after another for long period.
Right.
And no sustained international campaign has been taken to redress it,
Right.
isn't it?
Some
So
sort of
that's the number one.
and positive environmental endeavors have to be made
Okay.
to possibly.
Now billions of dollars are being spent in other conflict zones. You know it. There's no point in naming the countries. Billions of dollars, isn't it? Whether it's Ukraine, whether it's in the Middle East, billions of dollars are spent. But why a fraction of that has not been given to these people
Right.
to stabilize the country, which is very important. And it is, from the hindsight, you can say that for not having helped them is hurting your interest,
Right.
isn't it? The sea route
Yeah.
is insecure, piracy. Once our vice president asked President Museveni
Right.
why there is Somali piracy,
Yeah.
why is there Somali pirates. President Museveni, astute politician, he said that Somalis are not aquatic;
Right.
they live on the land,
Yeah.
but they have been forced to go to snatch money from outside because there is nothing left to eat,
Right. Right.
isn't it? So they are. How many tankers have been, hijacked
Right.
by the Somali pirates, being brought at Kismayo, and other small ports?
So just to roll back a little bit, do you ever see the possibility in the future for Somaliland and Puntland and Somalia and Jubaland, the entire of Somalia, to ever again come together as one country?
I have a strong. I'm very cautiously optimistic that they will come to an understanding,
Right.
a model of political structure acceptable to all the different clans
Right.
will be adopted,
Right.
enforced,
Right.
taking into consideration the interests of political dynamics of the various regions,
Right.
giving them autonomy,
Right.
make them as autonomous states,
Right.
and their representation to the federal government,
Right.
not on clan-based formula.
Right.
There has to be, even if it is clan-based, the representatives will be elected, not selected by the elders.
Right.
Okay, selected by votes of
Right.
the common people, of the clan people. Whoever gets the votes, he becomes the member of the parliament, lower house,
Right.
upper house. Similarly, there should not be any 4.5 formula in the Council of Ministers.
Right.
They have to come out of this clan sentiment.
Right.
Otherwise, Somalia is doomed.
and adopt a nationalistic approach.
Adopting a nationalistic approach.
Thank you for this conversation, sir. Taking cue from your last statement, let us hope for a Somali-owned and a Somali-led Somalia independent of foreign interests. Similarly, international forces and international countries should invest in Somalia to create such a country along with a strong democratic federal system. Regional and international players should assist Somalia in humanitarian capabilities during times of drought and climate change events. This would lead to a stable Somalia, which would definitely be a deterrent to jihadi and radical forces, which will be a feather on the cap of the global war on terror. Thank you all for spending this time with us. We will see you in the next episode. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Signing off from New Delhi.